Today was a total car crash for the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. So she went to Rochdale to make a big announcement about transport spending. And the workers behind her lost the will to live.
The lifeline of growth and therefore of living standards. The single greatest barrier that businesses told me was standing in their way. And put simply, our plan, the central barrier to economic growth has been underinvestment. The two recent numbers showed Britain to be the fastest growing economy in the G7. While young people are presented with a choice,
Just look at this man's face here. There we go. We are all this man. Look, Rachel Reeves is surely going to raise your taxes. She has to. The police need more money. They're raising the defence budget. We have to pay Mauritius to give them the Chagos Islands. They're U-turning on winter fuel payments. She's just announced 15 billion quid's worth of transport costs. Government borrowing grew to £20.2 billion in April. That was £1 billion higher than the same month in 2024. And here she is today refusing to rule out more tax rises.
You be honest with the public that you cannot rearm and do all the rest on welfare with either really deep cuts elsewhere or future tax rises.
we'll set out the funding or set out how everything would be paid for in the budget in the autumn. But it is important that everything that we do is funded, because that's how people know that we can afford it. Well, I'm not going to write another 4 years' worth of budgets before we've got even through the first year of this government.
She's going to raise your taxes. The Chancellor told you she was the woman for the job.
I spent the best part of a decade as an economist at the Bank of England. I know the importance of financial and economic stability.
I was an economist at the Bank of England for many years before I became an MP.
Hello, Rachel. Welcome to reality, because Rachel Reeves' inheritance tax reforms could lead to 208,500 job losses and a loss of 14.86 billion quid to economic activity by the end of this Parliament. The worst thing is, what she announced today wasn't even her own idea. It was the Tories from 2023. Let's go through it, shall we? Spending for Greater Manchester, Tories 2.4 billion. Rachel Reeves, 2.4 billion. Liverpool, Tories 1.5 billion. Labour, 1.5 billion. South Yorkshire, Tories 1.4 billion. Labour, 1.4 billion. West Yorkshire, Tories 2.1 billion. Rachel Reeves, the same. Tees Valley, 978 million quid under the Tories. Any guesses now here for what you think Rachel Reeves has gone for? Oh, it's the same, yes. Now, I'm going to play you a little clip of former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who, by the way, you know, as people of the show will know, I wasn't a huge fan of him at the time, but anyway, this was one of his worst ever days as Prime Minister, all right? So it was the Tory party conference in Manchester. He just scrapped HS2 and he's trying to claw it back with an announcement about transport spending. Listen to this delivery.
Protect the £12 billion to link up Manchester and Liverpool as planned, and will engage with local leaders on how best to deliver that scheme. We'll build the Midlands rail hub, connecting 50 different stations. We'll help Andy Street extend the West Midlands Metro. We'll build the Leeds tram. We'll electrify the North Wales main line, upgrade the A1, the A2, the A5, the M6. We'll connect our union with the A75, boosting links between Scotland and Northern Ireland. We will fund the Shipley bypass, the Blythe Relief Road, and deliver 70 other road schemes.
I've never been so excited about the Blythe Relief Road. But anyway, now, here's Rachel Reeves, 11 months to the day after a landslide Labour election victory. A stonking majority in the House of Commons. There she is.
So the announcements we've made today is an uplift, 2.4 times more spending in this Parliament on these regional mayoral transport settlements compared to the settlement in the last Parliament. That is a substantial uplift, which is what makes possible the investments that I've announced today in extending existing tram networks, building new tram networks, new buses, new stations, all possible because the investment in the North and the Midlands that I'm setting out today.
Oh, my gosh. Britain's oldest department store is holding a Rachel Reeves closing down sale. She's dreamt of this job her whole life. and now it's a nightmare. The decisions that she has made have made our economy worse. And there it is. There she is.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it
Chancellor Rachel Reeves, she's toast. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Well, Mark, I'll start with you on this. I mean, you know it's a bad day out when the worker behind you, or in fact any of the workers behind you, are falling asleep and they take all the headlines.
Well, quite so. Why politicians do this? I mean, I think they should just stand at a podium and speak. You either have genuine workers, in which case you know what the public think of you, or everybody realises that you've put in partisan plants, in which case it's implausible. Look, Patrick, you said it out. The British economy is completely broken. Spit and polish is not going to do. You're right to say that the only major announcement here was that Tory plans that Labour have put on pause, they've now just taken off the pause button. But we are going to have a complete overhaul of the way we think about tax and spending in Britain. Our tax rises to come. I fear you're right. We're going to see rates of various taxes go up. But here's the problem, slightly nerdy economic point.
Go on.
No government in our lifetimes has been able to squeeze out of the economy more than about 39% of national income. That's, say, for every pound generated in Britain, the absolute max the government can get from VAT, income tax, inheritance tax, capital gains tax, the whole lot, 39p. We're at that maximum.
Yep.
You cannot tax this economy anymore. You can put the rates up, but we'll have more department stores closing down.
Absolutely.
And that means the revenues coming in will not match the intended hike. So we're going to have to find very, very major spending cuts. No politician seems to be talking about that yet.
Adam, I mean, she's got her numbers wrong and she's knackered the economy.
Labour don't stop getting their numbers wrong. You know, the inheritance tax blunder that you showed earlier, billions. The private school VAT raid, that's going to end up costing billions, I tell you, because everyone I know in my area is pulling their kids out of private school because of this Labour government. And the realisation of that hasn't hit yet. Look, we live in a country that is falling apart. We do need to invest in transport and infrastructure, and a lot of that is down to the Tories. I've got to admit that. Maybe if they didn't start doing mad things like 20 billion on carbon capture, that doesn't work, by the way. So we are going to waste billions on this net zero nuttiness. Let's get rid of that. Let's stop sending 15 billion abroad foreign aid. Let's stop paying 6 million a year for asylum seeker hotels and support. Let's say enough is enough. This country is in emergency and go on a war footing.
Nina, realistically, what you heard there from Rachel Reeves, standing in front of a load of workers who were bored out of their skull, like the nation, frankly, she's not got the charisma, she's not got the numbers, she's not got the experience, she's not got the CV. Hasn't she got to go?
The charisma is irrelevant. She's a numbers person. She should be given credit for that. And the jokes about her being Rachel from accounts and all of that are purely sexist. And well, all politicians lie.
She was caught out like that.
She was, you know, people do swerve on their CV. I've never had to write CV, but I would never do that. So all politicians enhance their image in some way. So you can't just pick on her for that. She is doing, I think, a credible job. Because I agree with Adam for one thing, the Tories screwed us right and proper. They really did. And there was nothing that anybody could do. I mean, if the Tories were now, what on earth would they do? One of the reasons that Rishi Sunak bailed out so early was because all these problems were coming down the line.
I think
he had to go anyway.
Yes, I think he'd had it.
There is a big problem with this analysis, Nina. If you're interested in fixing the economy, I mean, if you're interested in kicking the twitching corpse of the Conservative Party in the last 14 years of government, that's a different thing. The problem's this. I would agree with you, and throughout those 14 years, I was saying the Conservatives are taxing too much, spending too much and borrowing too much, and needed to do less of each, and they did too much of each. However, on each and every occasion, the Labour opposition and the Liberal Democrats wanted to tax more, spend more and borrow even more. There was no project. There was no suggestion that, perhaps furlough's too generous. Perhaps we're spending too much on the NHS.
But they weren't in government. And it's
so their plan at the time,
it's the job of the opposition to oppose.
Each and every time that the Tories were taxing too much, spending too much and borrowing too much, the Labour and the Liberal Democrat position was tax, spend and borrow even more.
With the greatest respect, it is not for Labour or the Liberal Democrats or whoever, Reform or the Greens, to police the Conservatives and say you're not doing this right.
Their line should have been tax less, spend less, borrow less.
They're allowed to take the line they want. But the thing is also, we are. You know, you went on about these bored factory workers behind her. That is just another anti-Labour smear.
I'm sorry, but it's stupid from Labour.
The Daily Mail wrote about it in that way, and then printed, you know, the tweets from viewers. Those are irrelevant. They should have analysed. They should have analysed what she's actually doing.
Maybe Labour should stop putting people. Well, what she's actually doing, as we have analysed, is exactly what the Tories did in 2023.
Right. She could have cancelled that, and she didn't.
What I will say, Patrick, as a small businessman, and a small business can sometimes replicate in bigger businesses. Yeah. If we get taxed any more, we go under. I will go under as a pub if I get taxed any more in the autumn. At the end of the day, then they get no income coming in from that business. They've got to be very careful. I would say we need to go back to what Liz Truss did.
For God's sake.
Cut taxes and stimulate the economy, because the only way we're going to get out of this is growth.
Millions
and you have to gamble on that. You can't keep ringing us out.
Sitting in homes they can't afford because of her will be screaming at the telly.
Interest rates are even higher now. So
come on.
They're even higher now, and the return on gilts is even higher now. It's worse than it was after the mini budget.
But the really big issue, right? Because
none of us are elected politicians, is at some point we've got to have a serious argument about where we are going to find major spending reductions. We are still living in this fantasy land that we can give everybody more child benefit, reverse the winter fuel allowance, spend 3.5% of GDP on defence, more for the NHS, more for public sector workers. Not a single reduction I can think of. And we are going to have to save tens of billions every year. That's not an ideological point, it's a mathematical point.
Are you saying we should have tax cuts?
Yes.
And for heaven's sake.
Tax is now at the highest level in...
Look what Trump's doing to the American economy.
Nina, please
adding 3 to 4 trillion to their borrowing.
Cut taxes, let businesses like mine thrive and pay more tax. Stop foreign aid, 15 billion abroad. Let's sort ourselves out.
That is soft power.
Somewhere you're going to have to find 100 billion of cuts.
Net
and
zero
nobody's willing to discuss this.
Foreign aid is very important to this country.
Well, I don't know where your cuts are.
It's soft power, and we need it.
I think what we saw today was, for me, I noticed a change. So Rachel Reeves, when she delivered her first, what was it, her actual budget or fiscal event, whatever you call it these days. Anyway, the actual one, I actually thought when she was at the dispatch box, she had quite a good delivery. I didn't agree with a lot of what she was doing. They had the pensioners thing, but I thought, OK, actually, she came across relatively well. Today, she looked like a broken woman.
Yeah.
I don't saying that to be mean to her. I think that's the general consensus. She was stumbling over her words all the time. She was mumbling her numbers up completely. It was bad, and she had those workers behind her. I just think there's a woman here who really thought, and I think a lot of people in Labour are finding this now, they've spent the best part of the last 20 years thinking that running a country was quite easy, and if they only had the chance to do it, they would know what to do and they'd be able to whip it into shape. And actually, they're finding out that it's a nightmare.
And particularly for Rachel Reeves, she staked her reputation politically on getting these welfare cuts through.
Yeah.
And she's lost that battle now. They are going to reverse on winter fuel. They'll probably reverse on PIPs. So the politics of it, whether you agree with her plan or not, is that she fought for this as the fulcrum of her credibility, and she's lost.
I do think, personally, you might disagree, Nina, fair enough, but I do think, personally, if people's taxes go up anymore at all, you're looking around and you're thinking, where the hell are you spending my money?
High streets will
where
be
the hell is that
closed up.
going?
Let's see what's coming next week. Let's see what's coming next week before you make judgments.
She promised not to put taxes up before the election, and they did.
Well,
I don't believe it now.
Massaging. And by the way, watch out for the word investment, because when people on the right of this country want to spend a bit of money, it's a splurge. When Labour wants to do it, they're investing in the future. But